What blockchain is at the end of the day is it's a better data technology, right? It's a better data warehousing tool that allows this concept of smart contracts that creates essentially if then statements for your asset. Which just imagine that today. Again, how would you do that with your stock that you own through your brokerage? How would you do that with the investment you made in your private company? How would you do that with the title of your home? You wouldn't be able to do any of those things. Those are what we will call dumb assets, if you will. And we're going to make them smart by putting them on a blockchain. And you need a blockchain in order for everybody to trust the data that we're all going to use regarding what the information is for your asset, right? Otherwise, we're going to have a very complicated and centralized data solution that absolutely, can be corruptible. The data can be changed. It could be lost. That could create a lot of problems for a financial asset of any kind, a loan, a security, an equity, right? So blockchain is being used in many different use cases. And the beautiful thing about on-chain assets or RWAs, real world assets, or anything like that, is that they follow the same set of rules legally. And so in order for us to program and use these assets that are living in the real world, if you will, and make a token out of them, all we need our blockchain to do is follow the rules of the law. So for example, what I mean by that is if I have a company share, I can't just give that to anybody if it's a private company. There are rules preventing me from just giving people shares in my private company. But if I have a token that anybody can just trade, well, then how am I preventing and how am I going to follow the rules? So you need to have actual smart contracts that say, hey, you are not allowed to, Dr. Murphy, trade this token because it is a restricted token. It would be illegal for you to just give that to somebody else or trade that to somebody else. So those are the rules that get programmed into the asset, into the security, so that now you can have a compliant digital representation via a token. And now you can use that in all of these cool use cases that have come out in crypto. Well, an example of collateralization by, again, can't do that with your Apple stock, can't do that with your private company, can't do that with your title. You can't just go walk somewhere and be like, hey, give me a loan against this, right? It's a complicated process. But if I have a token that represents that asset or that security, and somebody has already said, hey, I'm willing to lend against that token because I like that asset, boom. There is a programmatic trade that happens. I never have to talk to a human being at all, and I have just collateralized my asset. So this is cool on an individual basis. But also BlackRock just did this with JP Morgan's tokenized collateral network because they're also doing it and they also see the value. And so that's what's so cool about all this.
Yeah, so let's talk about that in a little bit. So you alluded to it a second ago here, and then I saw that, you've been talking about, on social media, you called it the CNBC Media Tour for Tokenization 2024. So Larry Fink from, BlackRock, and then Jamie Dimon and from JP Morgan. So again, these are household names. This isn't some computer nerd or some wacko libertarian, of which I'm one. That's why I speak like that. So can you just elaborate? I still think there's a group of people that are like, oh yeah, this is all the latest fad, but it's been the latest fad since 2008. So can you just speak a little bit about that? Like, how mainstream is this becoming?
Yeah, this is going to happen in the background, whether you like it or not. So for example, there is an asset manager called Wisdom Tree. They've actually have a history of launching ETF products. And over the last couple of years, they actually spent an entire infrastructure investing into companies, getting licenses to be able to essentially launch an app. It's only an app. You can download it, in I think it's over 30 states now. And what this app does is it allows you to buy into their digital fund products. And this is really cool. Why? Because the infrastructure they've set up, you are not basically getting a wallet or a token or anything like that. But what you are getting, instant settlement out of your trades every day. They'll be adding all of these options like collateralization. Part of their vision is to be able to issue a credit card so that you can literally pay out of your investment account, real-time settlement that is able to allow these purchases to happen. That could only happen on an on-chain infrastructure. And so they have done the work of now having over 10 or over a dozen products registered that you can then just, again, just via an app, you're buying it. No one might ever realize just that this technology is happening. What they're just having an easy way of accessing investment products that are going to make them money. And so that's what's cool. That's what's going to happen in the future. You're going to see it in the background. But then for those of us who want it, like Franklin Templeton, for example, they've been going to a bunch of different chains. And Franklin Templeton, for those of you who don't know, is $1 trillion asset manager. So I'm giving names of mainstream, large household finance names that are leveraging this technology today. And they launched a money markets product. Basically, you get access to treasuries rates and things like that. And they have it issued on 6 different blockchains. 6 different blockchains where you can access this product because they're trying to make it accessible to different communities that want to leverage or access this product via their blockchain. So the world is going to be very interesting. I expect to see assets be multi-chain, so they support multiple blockchains or they're on multiple chains, as well as you're going to see different issuances of the same product on different chains, as well as just some that are exclusive to chains. And if a lot of what I'll end on is just that what we see in a lot of the big finance households is they're creating their own ecosystems, their own private permission networks, because they need to be able to be in control of the different aspects of the technology for them to compliantly do this stuff. Whereas what you are seeing in the DeFi and in the other side of the world is you're seeing more of the custody first, self-custody. Republic did this recently where you can buy into some of their products where you self-custody the asset, which means you'll be able to do all these other cool things with it yourself. And I'll say this, all of the heads of digital assets from the big banks, they say that eventually the future is going to be public blockchains.
Okay, great. So a lot of terms there. Let's just go through, just unpack them a little bit.
Yep.
So what's the difference between a public blockchain and then maybe what some of these other ones that are more like in-house proprietary? Can you just explain the difference between those?
So this is where I want to comment about what you recently brought up about regard the Bitcoin maxis, right? And the idea that no matter what, Bitcoin will always be around. It can't be stopped, even if it's made illegal. Bitcoin it will always function, and it has never been hacked, right? And so it is the most secure data ledger in the world. And so there's a lot of value to that. But the reality is you don't need that in order to take advantage of a lot of these applications that we've been talking about. And unfortunately, Bitcoin has a lot of compliance concerns, a lot of issues, as we talked about, unless you're using their liquid blockchain, which is basically their smart contracts layer to Bitcoin. It's very difficult to use it. So what a lot of these banks have done is created a private version of them, a permissioned version, if you will, which means they control who has access to the blockchain, who has access to the information, who even has access to the consensus mechanism so that nobody can corrupt the underlying data, so that they essentially have full control of the blockchain application. And in some cases, they're not even blockchains, they're distributed ledger technologies, but we won't even go down that path. It's just they are creating their own technical environments, because that's kind of the punchline of what I'm talking about, is that this isn't about crypto. This isn't about a Bitcoin movement. This isn't about that. It's about the technology and how it's just going to make current capital markets more efficient.
Hey, everybody, this is Bob Murphy. Thanks for listening to this clip from the InFi podcast. If you like what you heard and want to hear more, please consider subscribing and share this video with others. We've got new episodes dropping every Friday with more insightful discussions. Stay tuned.